All right, some breaking news. Just a short time ago, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff is coming back from his 3-hour meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin with a proposal for a ceasefire in the war with Ukraine. President Trump described that meeting in Moscow today as, quote, highly productive with great progress. But of course, we've heard that before, only to see the war grind on. Today's news comes ahead of Trump's Friday deadline for Russia to agree to a ceasefire with Ukraine or face new economic sanctions. Some sanctions have already been set in motion. President Trump today signed an executive order aimed at the Kremlin, albeit indirectly. Trump announced he is doubling tariffs on India to 50% for buying oil from Russia. And a U.S. official says more sanctions targeting Russia's other trading partners could go into effect Friday as well. President Trump himself could sit down with President Putin of Russia as soon as next week. The White House official confirmed today the possibility of a meeting, but gave no other details. The president was asked about his sit-down with Putin a short time ago.
We had some very good talks with President Putin today, and there's a very good chance that we could be ending the end of that road. That road was long and continues to be long, but there's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
All right, I want to bring in State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce now. Tammy, welcome back to the show.
Nice to be here.
This is what Secretary of State Rubio said just a short time ago. For the first time, perhaps since this administration began, we have some concrete examples of the kinds of things Russia would ask for in order to end the war. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Well, I can't elaborate on those details, but I think that both Secretary Rubio and President Trump have been very transparent when they've been upset with Putin. They've been blunt about the lack of progress, the other options that we've had. So for this to become the conversation indicates that all three men, Special Envoy Witkoff, Rubio, and Trump, they know the players. They've been through this now for over 6 months. The world has been through it for years. And now it seems like there is an understanding that we might be able to move forward. So it's for the president to be involved at this point. I think the secretary understands it, and some of his other comments included the fact that really, even in order to discuss what a peace deal would look like, there has to be a ceasefire. You've got to stop shooting at each other. And it seems like a 48-hour time period here seems to be key when it comes to knowing where we really stand.
President Trump was very clear today that he will meet with Vladimir Putin as soon as possibly even next week, but that the war has to end. You know that a one-on-one meeting with an American president is a big deal, and Trump has said in the past few weeks he thinks that Putin was playing him. How can you be sure he's not playing you now?
Well, I don't think anyone really plays President Trump, but there's attempts sometimes to just tap players along, and we see that it's perhaps about gaining time and pushing things along for Putin. It's about the economy as well. And now that President Trump has made it clear that he's willing and capable of moving forward on some economic actions, secondary sanctions or other direct sanctions as well, I think that perhaps put in an element for Putin that made the difference for him. But this also cannot go on for either party. Whatever, Putin is thinking, I think he understands now that this is, remember, when he started this with Ukraine, he said it would be over in a matter of weeks. It's obvious that has not happened, and there is no solution to this. And I think President Trump is the element that makes the difference, and he feels as though that's going to now occur.
And do you think that today's successful meeting, to quote President Trump, and the fact that Steve Witkoff has a proposal from the Russians in his hand, reportedly, according to Secretary of State Rubio, do you think that has anything to do with the fact that President Trump just signed an executive order doubling the sanctions on India and has given them this deadline of literally Friday of this week to come to a deal, or else there'll be even more punishing sanctions?
Well, this has been, part of the negotiation process. It's clear President Trump is a man who says what he means, does what he says. He's been very patient. That patience is over. There have been mechanisms like that, the tariffs or additional sanctions, if you will, regarding those who purchase Russian oil, because the economy for Russia is on its heels, if you will. This has been a long war This is a dynamic that would hurt them. President Trump understands the economic power of the United States and the methods that he can use. So clearly that seems to have resonated. And now if the president feels it's worth his time to bring that home, he'll do so. But we also know you can have recommendations or what Russia wants. We also, of course, in our work with Ukraine, this is about both parties understanding what needs to occur in order to bring this to a stop for both of their countries.
The Ukrainian president said today it needs to be an honest peace, and that certainly is true. There's talk of a three-way meeting with President Trump, Putin, and Zelensky. These things are very difficult to arrange and pull off with three major world leaders, the most major, of course, being President Trump, but also Russian President Putin. Where would this happen?
Well, I wouldn't want to guess at that or get ahead of any plans, but Secretary Rubio noted that it's this kind of a meeting that would be required to really make sure that all the parties understand the seriousness and the fact that this has to be durable. At the same time, there are many options about where they could meet. I think it's a matter of where they want to do it. What of course, President Trump believes is the best location. I think he'll be leading that kind of discussion. So wherever it is, it will be good. He's the first. Of course, he's the person who President Trump is, who's brought everyone to the table in so many different conflicts. So it's not surprising that he'll be able to do this one as well.
All right, Tammy Bruce from the State Department. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.